He loves attention. So. Awesome. Good morning, church. Wasn't that good? Oh, man, that was so good. Just that worship just sets everything up for what God is doing. The songs were from God. I mean, just, it's like, it's amazing. We had huddle this morning. Tammy Hanley had a nice message. I'm going to go and preach my service already. I mean, God just has a plan for every time we meet. And everything is in order how he plans it. So I'm excited about this word. It gives me encouragement when I see God's hand on everything. Isn't that awesome when you see God's hand on something? It just encourages you to step forward and go bolder and stronger. Welcome to In.spired Church. Who's glad to be here? We're going to have lots of incredible stuff today. We've already have, but we're going to have afterwards the pack to school, backpacks, haircuts, food galore, hanging out, lots of fun, meeting new people. It's just going to be really great. It's just going to be awesome. So I'm so glad that we're here together to do this together. Welcome online. We're glad that you're here. Just enjoy. You're missing out. You still have time to get here to participate in the good stuff afterwards. So, but enjoy the message. I know you've already enjoyed the worship and this part of it so far. Love this. Thank you, New Beginnings Church, too. Nuevos Comienzos for their participation to make this big event happen. We are blessed to have them in our lives, too. Excited. Here at In.spired Church, we believe. What do we believe? That we're divinely inspired to live above our current circumstances through the power of the Holy Spirit, right? I say that every week. You've got it memorized. Yes. Awesome. Inspired means God breathed. I want a life that's God breathed. Who wants a life that's God breathed? I want God breathing on everything I do, say. God breathed. And as he breathes on what I'm doing, the power and strength comes to do anything. There's nothing that we can't accomplish. Isn't that right? All right. We continue with our in-word, I-N dot word. We've been doing this all year, but we continue with that. And our word started this last month in August, last week, intercede. Say intercede. Intercede. Perfect. Intercede means to plead on behalf of another. Plead. To use your influence, to persuade someone in authority to forgive another person or to save someone from punishment. Intercede. Basically, it means to come between. Literally act as a go-between or standing in the gap. So, person, punishment, in the gap. You're standing in the gap between those things. God has called you and me, his followers. Who's a follower here? Yes, we're followers of Christ. To be go-betweens and stand in the gap for others. Simple as that. You mean me? Is that what you're saying to yourself? You can't mean me. Yes, you. Yes. It's just not Pastor Brian or Pastor Jessica or other pastors or other people. It's you. It's you and me together. God has called us to do this. So, with that in mind, we are called. So what stops us from doing what God has called us to do? What stops us? Oh, Pastor Jessica said a bunch of them earlier. What stops us? But I really believe maybe the number one thing that stops us, you and I, is excuses. Say excuses. Oh, come on, say excuses. That's right. So my message is called today, Why I Can't. Oh, I hear some murmuring in the crowd. Awesome. Excuses are a part of being human. It just is. Come on. Last week I talked about what? Sitting in your complaint. Yes? Yes. Today is a part of being just a human being is we come up with excuses. Why? When we fail, when we mess up, when we just don't want to do something. Who doesn't want to do something sometimes? And even sin. Our excuse is our way of get out of jail free card, so we can justify the reasons why it didn't work or it's not going to work. But when it comes to our relationship with God, making excuses is just a cop-out. You know what that word cop-out, I always thought it had to do something with cops, police officers. It doesn't. It's Scottish. It means cup. Playing an empty cup. 500 years ago, it came up, it was playing an empty cup, and it was about being and drinking things and such, but it was a game. So when you cop out, it was playing an empty cup. So I thought that was very interesting. I learned something. We avoid the uncomfortable, which can lead to missed opportunities or have serious eternal consequences when we cop out, play the game of empty cup. I love the Bible. Who loves the Bible? I just adore the Bible. Every time I read it, God brings a new revelation or something beautiful to my heart. I love it. It's about stories of people just like you and me. And that's what's fun about it. God's not bringing all these holier-than-thou people. He's bringing guys that you might not even be friends with because they're so bad. But he tells us story after story about people just like you and me. I love it. And these people, a lot of them, most of them, almost every story, in fact, people making excuses of why they can't serve God. Is that right? Moses, I'm too old. Jeremiah, I'm too young. Gideon, I'm not from the right family. And Saul, I'm afraid of people. And it goes on and on and on and on. And even, was it Tammy talking about the 10 spies? They came back with a bad report. Why they couldn't. Why I can't. Why you can't. If you weren't here this morning, it was really good. Excuses. The Bible is full of excuses. And God did that on purpose so we could understand ourselves better. And so we could understand Him better. So our Bible passage this morning is from Exodus, and who? The one and only Moses. You've heard the story. We've all heard the story about a guy named Moses who was rescued as a baby from death, grew up in the house of Pharaoh, had everything given to him from that point on. I mean, he grew up having everything, wealth, honor. He was good looking. He had everything, handsome, strong, full of himself, probably. By the time he hit 40, the kingdom was his. He was next in line, really, or down the line very shortly to become Pharaoh. He was being groomed for that. So he was probably pretty full of himself. Because when you have ultimate power, really, it kind of changes you. But he had it all. And because he got so full of himself, he decided to try to advance God's plans and make it happen earlier than it was supposed to. So he killed an Egyptian. And then he realized he had to run for his life. And so he ran out into the desert, and his life was drastically changed from that point on. He became a shepherd, he married, had children, and he just hung out in the desert for the next 40 years. Boy, almost king, everything you want, hanging out with the sheep in the desert for the next 40 years. Wow, what a shift. So 40 years passed, and Moses is now 80 years old. Wow. It's fun when you read the Bible. It talks about him going to the desert, getting married, and all of that stuff. And then the next verse says, Moses is now 80 years old. So we don't know a lot about that in between, but I know he hung out with a lot of sheep. He carried a lot of water. He ate a lot of dirt. You did. 80 years old, 40 years have gone by. He's fully forgotten about his old life. And he's secure and content with his new life. He's been living it for 40 years. He's good with it. I'm good, right? Anybody good with the way you're living? I'm good. Everything's good. You're content. One day he goes out with the flock and he encounters God. I love it. In the middle of the desert, God speaks through a burning bush. You know the story. Moses falls on his face and God speaks to him, telling him, I am sending a deliverer. As he's bent down, I'm sending a deliverer to free my people from the Pharaoh and the Egyptian oppressors. And I'm sure Moses was thinking, hey, that's great. What does it have to do with me? Let's read Exodus 3:10 through 15. NLT version. And now here's God says, now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh. You must lead my people Israel out of Egypt. What a shock that would be. What does it have to do with me? And now God wants me to be the guy. So out of the blue, wham. But in verse 11 it says, but Moses protested to God, who am I? Come on, church, say, who am I? That's right. Who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? Who am I? Here's Moses witnessing this incredible miracle, a burning bush, God speaking to him, telling it's holy ground to take off his sandals. He's witnessing this incredible thing. But he still wanted to get out of obeying God. Who am I? So today, I have 5 excuses why I can't. And they're all from this story. The first excuse is, I don't have the ability. Anybody ever said that? Been confronted with something? I don't have the ability to do that. Who am I to do that? Who am I? I'm a nobody. Instantly in a situation where something has happened and you're to step up, God asks you to step up in something, first thing you do is what? You disqualify yourself. Who am I? Get somebody else. I mean, who am I to do this? I'm this nobody. So we never, ever just really try. Because you've already disqualified yourself from doing what he's talked to you about. Moses had a poor self-image of himself. He had remembered his past. Everything was now coming into view. He remembered 4 years ago of what happened from then when he killed somebody and he ran for his life and then stayed in the desert. All this came back to him. He's remembering his past failures. You know, most people have negative self-esteem. I mean, I've had it. Anybody else? Oh yeah, I mean, just being honest, I mean, we have our self-esteem has some issues. And that's okay because it just makes you normal. Anybody normal here? Don't answer. Anxiety, doubt, fear. We don't think highly of ourselves, right? We think we have nothing to offer anybody. In fact, here's the truth with a lot of folks. And I've lived this myself. I don't even like myself, let alone anybody else liking me too, to do what God has called me to do. Is that right? That's what self-esteem does to you. It can shift you and disqualify you before you even start. Most people's first response is to look inward instead of upward. Stop looking inward, start looking upward. Come on, that needs to be like a mantra. Stop looking inside of you for your strength and start looking up to God's strength. Not your ability, but God's ability. Look upward. Philippians 4:13 says, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Verse 12 says, God answered, and I love this, to his first excuse, to Moses' first excuse. Who am I? God says, I'll be with you. You won't be doing this on your own. I've got you covered. And this is your sign that I'm the one who sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. This is personal for Moses. God is telling him, Moses, just so you know, I'm going to bring you right back here with the people just to show you. It's personal. And verse 13 says, but Moses, oh Moses, I love Moses, protested. If I go to the people of Israel and tell them that the God of your ancestors have sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell them? The second excuse that we all have. I don't know what to say, right? When God sends you to do something, you're worried about what are you going to say. They will question me. I don't have all the answers. Does anybody have all the answers? Does God say, hey, you'll all have all the answers when you get there? I don't ever read that. God always says, hey, I'll be with you, and when you get there, I'll help you with the words. I don't know what to say. I've been in that place many times. The fear is in that moment you feel like you're left on your own. I don't know what to say. Excuse me, God, I can't do it. Left holding the bag. I won't have the right words to say, and no one will believe me. Right? Verse 14, it says, God replied to Moses. Again, here's his response. I love God. Short and sweet. God replied to Moses, I am who I am. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. God has said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel. Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my eternal name, my name to remember for all generations. I love it. Moses says, who am I? And God says, I am who I am. Who am I? Looking inside, looking up, I am who I am. The different shift altogether. Exodus 4, 1 through 13. But Moses, again, protested. You know what? I love Moses because he had the guts to protest against God. I don't think I would have. But he protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? Third excuse. I don't have any authority to do this. I don't have any authority. Did anybody really send you? Did they have the authority? You know, in life, in the military or in a job or whatever, you go do something, and sometimes your boss sends you with authority to go make something happen, right? You have the authority. You have somebody higher than you backing you up to make something happen. He was afraid that no one would listen because he didn't have stripes on his shoulders saying, I have authority, right? He feared. In life, it makes all the difference in who is backing you. If I feel like I'm backed, people have my back, I can go farther, better, bigger, everything. But when I'm out there on the limb all by myself, I'm always looking behind me. Right? By whose power, whose strength has sent you? Authority is the legitimate power of a person over other people. It's a legitimate, not illegitimate, legitimate. Moses had that authority given by God. So the truth is, in every situation you face, you must have the confidence in the one that sends you, which is God. So as we intercede on people's behalfs, it isn't just because you're a good person.
That's right.
Because you all, I know, most of you are great people. You're good people. But if you go to somebody to do something and you're doing it just because you're a good person, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Because it shouldn't be from you. It should be from the one who sends you. And the one who sends you has everything that you need when you get in that situation. When they need a healing, you can lay hands on them and pray for them and say, be healed. Yes. When they need help and guidance, there you are to give help and guidance. And if you don't even have the words, you can pray with them to encourage them. And you can be with them and help them in many ways. But it's the authority that God has given you to go into that and feel confident that you can do anything that needs to be done in that moment. It's not you. It's God in you. You act on a greater authority. It's so much easier walking into a situation and go, my boss, he said I could do this. Instead of you just saying, I'm just doing this. Verse 2, then it said, the Lord asked him, what is that in your hand? A shepherd's staff, Moses replied. Throw it on the ground, the Lord told him. So Moses threw the staff down, and it turned into a snake. Moses jumped back. Then the Lord told him, reach out and grab its tail. So Moses reached out and grabbed it, and it turned back into the shepherd's staff in his hand. Verse 5, perform this sign, the Lord told him. Then they will believe that the Lord, the God of their ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, really has appeared to you. Then the Lord said to Moses, now put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand inside his cloak, and then he took it out again, and his hand was white as snow and severe skin disease. Another incredible miracle. Now put it back into your cloak, the Lord said. So Moses put it back in, and when he took it out again, it was healthy as the rest of his body. So a second miracle. And God does a third miracle. He says, if they do not believe you and are not convinced by the first miraculous sign, then they will be convinced by the second sign. Well, people are pretty stubborn. Sometimes it takes 3 signs, right? And if they don't believe you and listen to you, even after those 2 signs, then take some water from the Nile and pour it on the ground, the dry ground. When you do, the water from the Nile will turn to blood on the ground. Why was God doing these things for Moses? Why do you think? He was showing Moses that he's going to be with him. He's giving him these things to show them that he has authority from somebody higher than him. Because he's not God. He can't perform great miracles, but God can. And so God was giving him encouragement to go and do it because God had his back, right? In performing these 3 miracles, God was taking away any excuses that Moses would not be able to execute his plan. There's nothing Moses could now say that he couldn't execute the plan because he had the backing. He had the authority. He had the power. He had everything. So there you go. It's kind of like I'm without excuses, right? You know, I love it in the New Testament. I'm going to push through here. Jesus had something similar with the Pharisees and the crowds. You remember the story when they lowered the guy through the ceiling, and he says, why do you entertain evil thoughts in your heart? He said to the Pharisees. Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or say, get up and walk? But so that you might know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sin, then he said to the paralytic, get up and take your mat and go home. Through this miracle, Jesus' healing showed everyone watching, everybody who was there, that he had the power to heal. So he also then had the power to forgive sin. He had the authority. That's what miracles do. And that's what God was giving Moses, those miracles, to show that he had the authority to act on behalf of the one who sent him. So I pray whenever I go into a situation, God, perform a miracle. God, help me be a part of that. So God, that will show that I have the authority given by you to do something great in their life, God. Just be present. And sometimes the miracle is just you being there for them. But Moses is fun. That wasn't good enough for Moses still. It says in verse 10, but Moses pleaded with the Lord, "Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I've never been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied, my words get tangled." Anybody? Anybody? The fourth excuse is this: I can't speak. Being tongue-tied. Who has the fear of speaking? Anybody? Oh, come on. It's the number one phobia in the world. More than death. I'm just telling you, more than heights, more than spiders, more than snakes, more than anything. Speaking in front of people is the greatest phobia in the world. I can't speak. It terrified me all my life, by the way. So look at me now. See, I'm kind of a miracle just on that. I'll tell you some stories about me getting in front of people and almost wetting myself. So I'm just telling you, fear gets a hold of you and it's terrifying. So it's the number one phobia. Moses pleads, I'm not good with words. I can't speak. Again, we're looking inward. What I can't do. My limited provision. Our focus is in the wrong place. And sometimes you have to remind yourself every time you do something, not on me, God, on you. God, I'm walking into this, not on me, God, on you. Oh, God, it's not on me, it's on you. You don't know how many times I've come into this place over the years and I'd say, God, it's not on me, it's on you. You to be here. You to change lives. Use me, God, to participate, but it's on you, God, because I will do my part, but God, it's on you. Because I know the truth. I've been given gifts. Yes. But it's because of God in me and using me that I can use those gifts. It's about God. Our vision, our focus is in the wrong place, and it needs to be in the right place. And then the Lord asked Moses, who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak? Hear or do not hear? See or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say. He's taking away his excuse. But Moses had to give it one more shot. But Moses again pleaded, Lord, please send anyone else. I mean, this guy's persistent, isn't he? The fifth excuse, send someone else. Please, God, not me. Does it sound like anyone you know? Does it remind you of maybe you? Well, it reminds me of me. Many times, in fact. Send someone else. I'm not your guy. You got it wrong. You know, Moses had some really valid reasons, and I know you have valid reasons for why things you can't do or want to do or feel like you should do or past that you feel that you shouldn't do, whatever it is. Okay. Valid reasons. These are valid. I mean, they're all valid. He was going to go in front of the biggest king on earth, the most powerful man in the world, and tell him how high to jump. I mean, really? And then he was going to go in front of the fickle Israelites who were with you one moment and they would kill you the next. And that shows it all through the Bible, that they were so fickle. It's really a valid thing inside of our heart to know that we don't have what it takes to accomplish God's mission that He has asked us to do. I think that's kind of wise to go, if you could do it on your own, then we would need God.
That's right.
I think it's valid. But what you do with that is everything. God called Moses at the age of 80. Go to Pharaoh and deliver the Israelites, his people. It shows me this. There is no obstacle so large, so grand, that can keep you from accomplishing God's mission in your life if God is with you. You would say, oh, an 80-year-old, they're out to pasture now. They should be in a home. No. He went out and did some incredible things. If an 80-year-old can go do it because God gave him the strength and the power, the will, everything he needed to accomplish his mission, God can do it for us too. Because he's called every one of you to do something. What is that word? Let's see. What is that? Intercede. That's it. Yes, very good. He's called each of us to intercede. You might say, I don't know what I'm doing. What is God thinking? Calling me? He had to get it wrong. I've seen some people and I'm going, he certainly got it wrong with those guys. Oh, come on. You got to have a sense of humor. But when you look at yourself, you go, God had to have got it wrong. I don't know how many times I told God those very thing. Are you kidding me? Me, the guy who was afraid to get in front of people? Are you kidding me? You got a weird sense of humor. But God has a plan. And so as you stick to the plan, as you do the things that you're called to do, as you take step after step, God walks you through it and gives you strength and power and wisdom. And at some point, you start believing what God told you.
That's right. That's right.
God says, it isn't about you. I will demonstrate my power through you. Come on, church, it's not about you. Yeah, God wants us to come to know him as our personal Savior, to start following him, start becoming more like Jesus, his son, start doing what we're called to do. But it's not about us in the end. Yes, at the beginning, God is fixing things and working things. But it's not about us. You might ask, Lord, why should anybody listen to me? I'm a nobody. Lord, I don't have what it takes. But here's the case. God's ultimate answer to every excuse is this. I am. I am. I am. No, I am. I am with you. Wherever you go, I am with you. I am faithful. No matter what, I will be there and I'll be backing you up and I'll be there before you. I'll be there after you. I am faithful. You don't have to worry. I am powerful. Hey, look through the whole Bible, what I did. I will do miracles. I am. You're not doing it in your own strength. You're doing it in my strength. I am your peace. So stop worrying. I am your strength, so stop doing it in your own. I am the deliverer, so don't be the guy who thinks he can do it all. I'm going to do it. I'm your future. Heaven is your home. I am. I'm the beginning and I'm the end. I am. I am all you need. Let me demonstrate my love for you. And I'll demonstrate my power through you. I am. Everything is for you and through you for his kingdom. I am. So whenever you are walking through your day, driving, going anywhere, and you have that thing that pops up and go, who am I? I'm praying that God just slams right back you and you hear the word I am.
Yes. Yes.
There is no excuse anymore. I've used it way too many times in the past, and God has always been now good to go, I am, and shift my view from me to him. As much as we want to see people set free, I want to see people set free, yes. We often hope God sends someone else. Come on, I'm being truthful, right? We want to cheer on the ones who are going. We just don't want to go ourselves. Go, Greg. Go to those Hondurans and save them. Feed them. We love you. But we really don't want to go ourselves. Greg's my friend. Oh, come on. Our answer should be, send me.
There we go.
Send me. You can have it all. You can have it all. Here I am. Here I am. Send me. Come on, send me. Interceding is all about inserting ourselves into other people's lives, as simple as that. To intercede, you have to get in and do what God has called you. There is no around about that. And saying yes to it is what we're called to do. Hebrews 7:25 says, therefore he's able once and forever to save those who come to God through him. He lives forever to intercede with God on their behalf. So God is interceding. Jesus is interceding on our behalf. He wants so for us to intercede on other people's behalf. Because he wants relationship with everyone. You know, most of the great leaders in the Bible who did great things were not looking for the spotlight. They were not desperate for the recognition. They didn't want the responsibility to care for others. In fact, they probably had generally enough problems for themselves, their own. Do you have enough problems for yourself to take on anybody else's problems? Anybody? Come on, all hands should be up. I have way too many problems to take on anybody else's problems. Tough. You're called to intercede. You don't have to have it weigh on you, their problems, but you are to step in that gap to help and intercede on their behalf, praying, doing the things that need to be done, whether it's praying for them, helping them financially, helping them in any other way, but you're inserting yourself so that God then can be shown great, and he will make the way, he will open the door, he will make the miracle, so they can go, that was God. You came in, but it was God who did this, and they see it plainly, and a miracle happens, whatever it is, incredible. And their lives are changed forever because you inserted yourself into something you generally would go, I've got enough troubles of my own. Ultimately, we have to make the decision. To intercede for others, we must lose our excuses. I got 3 minutes. I think I'm going to paraphrase this. My mom, when I was a little kid, used to read me a story, The Little Engine That Could. Anybody heard that one? A little engine that could. And this one engine couldn't pull a train up the hill, so she went to get help, and everybody turned her down. The big engines, the medium engines, the powerful engines, they all had an excuse. But a little engine said yes and went with her, and they towed up all the trains up the track, up the hill, and back down again. I love that story because it's really our lives. Because it's, I think I can, and then it comes to, I thought I could. And then you can. As we do, it doesn't matter how small you think you are or how big you might think you are. God can use you to change the destiny of some other person, other people. We are called to this community to change the destiny of people through Jesus Christ, to build relationships, to break addictions, to heal brokenness, to love people who are unloved. But the only way we can do that is to intercede. Let's just close our eyes. Band, why don't you come up? I think you know what song. Why I can't. Now I can. As God is just talking to you right now, just praying. At the end, we're just going to stand, and I'm going to pray for you. We're not even going to come up to the altar. But if this word was for you, I want you to raise your hand and go, God, I'm laying my excuses down. And stop looking at me, at who am I. I'm looking at the great I am. If that's you, I see your hand. Anybody else? I see your hand. I see your hand. I see your hand. I see your hand. Anybody else? I see your hand. I see your hand. I see your hand. God. You've called me, and I'm going to do my part. God, I know you're going to be with me because you're the great I am, and you said you will. So I'm going to take bold steps and move forward. And God, you are going to meet me there. And God, it'll be the greatest adventure ever. God, I thank you that you are giving us an opportunity. Thank you, Jesus. Come on, stand up. If you raise your hand, this prayer is for you. God, I thank you for these people who saying, God, send me, here I am. Send me to the people who are lost, who need you. Send me to the broken for healing. Send me to the unloved, God. Send me to the hurting. Send me to be a friend. Send me, God. Because, God, you said you'll be with me when I go. So, God, right now, even this week, I pray, as hands are raised, that God and opportunities are going to present themselves this week to each person with their hand raised. Opportunity for them to say, here I am. God, use me. And as you say yes, your life is going to change too. Not just the people you touch, but your life is going to change. God, I pray right now, supernaturally touch their words of their mouth. Give them strength and peace as they step into a situation. Help them, God, to move forward with confidence because they're looking at you. And God, that whatever they need in the moment, God, that you will be so there supplying more than they could ever ask. In Jesus' name, amen.